So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. You back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Tuesday, April 20th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact Tuesday, April 20th here today as we head into another night full of sports. Yankees are on, Nets are on, Rangers are on as the Rangers continue their push to the playoffs. Currently 4 points out of a playoff spot. We got a one-game set against the Islanders today. And then we head back home for 2 games, I believe, against the Sabres, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't quote me on that, but I do believe we do play the Sabres next. So the Rangers got the Islanders today. You talk about a big matchup. Talk about playing against a good team. The Islanders are a very good team, but the Rangers have been playing very good the past 4 games. So we're on a 4-game win streak as we beat, I believe, 4 or 5-game win streak. As we beat the Devils 4 straight games. We swept that 4-game set. I said, I don't want to go 2-2. We can't go 1-3. 0-4. Geez, you're done. And the Rangers took care of business. They got 8 points, 4-0 against the Devils in those games. So really just an excellent performance by the Rangers the past 4 games as we try to continue our playoff push today against the New York Islanders. It ain't going to be easy. It's not going to be easy at all. It's going to be hard. It's going to be very difficult. But we're going to have to find a way to battle, and win this game because this is a big game. These are the games that you find out a lot about your team because the Islanders are a very good team. They're a better team than us. There's no doubt about it. And the Rangers, they beat the Devils. They were supposed to beat them. They took care of business. But now with the Rangers going against a team that's better than them, you find a lot out about your team in these type of games. So the Rangers, hopefully we get the win today. Nets also play today against the Pelicans. Kind of just another one of those games for the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, at this point as a Net fan, I'm kind of just waiting for the playoffs. I'm kind of just ready for the playoffs. I'm hoping that we obviously make a deep playoff run. And then the Yankees also play today. We start a 2-game set against the Braves today and tomorrow before we head out onto an 8-game road trip. 4 in Cleveland and 4 in Baltimore. So our longest road trip of the year, obviously. 8 games. It's going to be an 8-game road trip. 4 against Cleveland, 4 against Baltimore before we come back home. And then we wrap up April and into May with a series against the Tigers. So the Yankees schedule coming up, not easy. We got the Braves, very good team. These upcoming 2 games today and tomorrow. Tayo and Kluber on the mound. And then we start up a series against the Indians with, their pitching staff, Shane Bieber. They've got some guys on that team that can hit and play well. So obviously not an easy team either. So the Yankees got to step up their game. Nets also play today. Knicks also play today. It was kind of weird. Yesterday, nobody played, I feel like, on New York sports. The Islanders didn't play. Rangers didn't play. Nets didn't play. Knicks, I believe, didn't play. Yankees didn't play. The Mets didn't play. There was nobody playing yesterday in New York sports. It was literally nobody playing whatsoever. But tonight, we've got the Mets, the Yankees, the Islanders, the Rangers, the Knicks, the Nets. So they're all back on track. Last night, I found myself watching the Dallas Stars Detroit Red Wings game. Very good game. Went into a shootout. Dallas Stars got the win. Big win for the Stars as they're still battling it out. They're 1 point behind Nashville right now for that final playoff spot as well in their respective division. But it was funny because I was watching that game, and it was at the intermission, so I kind of quickly flipped on over to MLB Network to watch. They had regional coverage on, so it was a couple games they would go to, and I had the Nationals. I flipped over to MLB Network. They had the Nationals-Cardinals game on. So I turned that game on, and I was like, I'll watch this game until the intermission. And the intermission was almost done. I was like, let me see what this game's going. If this is a close game, I'll watch it. It was 6-0. I literally turned it off for 5 seconds, then quickly turned back to the Red Wings game. And I'm like, I'm not watching a 6-0 ball game I'm not watching a 6-0 game when there was a Detroit Red Wings Dallas Stars game that was 1-1. Big game for the Stars, trying to make a playoffs. And obviously the Red Wings trying to play spoilers as they're eliminated. So I ended up turning on that game. Ended up being a very entertaining game. A lot of fun. Hockey is just such a fun sport to watch. Whether you know anything about the teams or you don't, it's just a fun sport to watch. That personally, in my opinion, goes with all sports. I think baseball, basketball, football, and hockey are all fun to watch. But if you know nothing about the NHL or don't even know any player, it's still very fun to watch. It's just a fast-paced game, a lot of action, hitting, all of that into one. It's really good. So, with all that being said, these are the topics for today. A report came out today about the New York Giants considering to give up that number 11 overall pick. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago about the New York Giants. Actually, not a couple weeks ago, a couple days ago, actually, when I did my mock draft Monday. I talked about it. I said about the New York Giants. I talked about the New York Giants. I said that the New York Giants right now are currently in a very interesting situation. And I said, I didn't do my mock draft Monday, this most recent Monday, the Monday before that. I said the Giants are in a very interesting situation, what they're going to do with the number 11 overall pick. I think really what depends on what the Giants will do with that pick is depending on who falls to them. If someone falls to them that they really like, they're going to go ahead and take them. If someone that falls to them, if someone that they really liked got taken a couple picks before, they might go ahead and trade it. So the fact that the New York Giants are now considering to trade, it might give us a little hint that maybe we start to figure out who might a team be looking for as the Giants start to receive calls and make a trade. We've also heard this about the Cowboys are looking to try and move into the top 10. We heard the Dolphins are willing to move out of the top 10. After they just traded to get into the top 10, they are now willing to possibly come back out of the top 10. So the Dolphins have done a lot already here before we even gone to the draft. They're now willing to trade out of that number 6 spot. And now the New York Giants are considering trading down from that number 11 spot in the draft, possibly getting more picks, maybe going back in the draft and getting another guy, maybe a guy that they don't feel that he should be taken that early. They let him fall back a little bit, something like that. So the New York Giants, there's been a lot of stuff going around them. We've officially got a report that they look like considering that they are looking to consider trading down from number 11, which is really going to be interesting if they do and how they do that. So I'll talk about that. Then we'll get into the Yankees call up Mike Ford. This happened just a little bit ago. The Yankees have officially called up Mike Ford from the alternate site. He obviously was down at the alternate site. Luke Voigt got injured. The Yankees decided to take Jay Bruce over Mike Ford. Hindsight 2020, they should have took Ford over Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce retired, obviously, after Sunday's game. And Mike Ford has now on his way up. Mike Ford, obviously, has played a couple of times with the New York Yankees. Played actually a good amount with us last season, whether that was DH role, first base, he did a good amount. He didn't have the best hitting year possible, but we've seen what this guy can do. He's got incredible power. He uses the short porch in right field. I'm a big fan of Mike Ford. I really believe if you give him time to grow and build, I really believe this could be a guy that can be a solid asset for a rebuilding team somewhere else. Maybe not the New York Yankees since they have Luke Voigt, but definitely a guy who, and if he is a backup, I feel like this is almost like an Austin Romine type thing. A guy who maybe if he spends some time with the Yankees as the backup, I think now he's a really solidified backup. I think now it's kind of confirmed. It's Luke Voigt and Mike Ford. I think that's kind of it. I don't think it's anyone else. It wasn't any of these other random guys. I think it's Luke Voigt and Mike Ford. Mike Ford's the backup. And I think if Ford continues to show progress, maybe down the road he gets a starting role or an advanced role somewhere else. So this is an opportunity for Ford to continue developing and trying to get better. The Yankees call him up. The move's, I guess, good because it means no more Jay Bruce. It means we actually will get a guy that plays second base, which causes an interesting situation down at second base. What will happen to Rougned Odor now? He's obviously going to get a little bit of a decreased role now because LeMahieu, I'm sure, is going to move back to second. Odor now is going to kind of be that guy. For the past week or two, he's been an everyday player. He's now going to be more of a guy that's going to fill in here and there, which is why we got him. But with Jay Bruce struggling, him retiring, or the Luke Voigt injury already, he became an everyday player. It looks like now that's going to change a little bit, but we also got to see how Ford hits. So, get into that. Then we'll finish off with New York sports update. Yankees play today. Nets play today. Rangers play today. All my favorite teams play today, so that's good. Besides the Jets, obviously, because their season's not on. As dumb as it may sound, why I said that, their season isn't on, obviously, but all the teams that play now, Rangers today, after today, 10 more games left. So 11 more games left today. Right now, 11 games left for the Rangers. After today, they'll only have 10 games left. And it's really crazy how quick the season has went. And hey, even if, obviously I want us to make the playoffs, and I will be slightly disappointed if we don't, because obviously, I'm going to be disappointed. Obviously, if you have any chance to make the playoffs, you want to convert and make them. But hey, the Rangers have done what us Rangers fans expect them to do. Play meaningful games down the stretch, and there's a very good possibility maybe squeak into the playoffs. So no one's saying Stanley Cup, no one's saying best record in the NHL. All we said is see what the young guys can do, see them develop, play meaningful games down the stretch. Checked off box 1, we've checked off box 2. Squeak into the playoffs. That box is not checked yet for making it or not. Hopefully it gets checked off as we make it. We'll figure that out very soon, as only 11 games left in the season. So with all that being said, this is the BSN Network podcast, and let's get right into it. So Giants rumors, New York considering trading down from number 11 overall pick in 2021 NFL Draft. Obviously, the NFL Draft is Thursday of next week, not this week. Although I would very much like it if it was this week, because that means it's 2 days from now. But it's come this Thursday. We'll be exactly 1 week away from the 2021 NFL Draft. And there's been a lot of questions in the draft. There's been a lot of stuff going on. What are the Jets? Not what are the Jets going to do. What are the 49ers going to do? What are the Falcons going to do? Or is this whole Kyle Pitts, Jerry Jones stuff real? Are the Cowboys actually going to go trade in? Are the Dolphins actually going to get out of that number 6 spot that they traded for and all that? What are they going to do? Obviously, the Jets, 99% of people believe, including myself, I think there's a 99.9% chance the New York Jets take Zach Wilson. But a big question is, what are they going to do with that number 23 overall pick? Do they go wide receiver? Do they go offensive lineman? Do they go cornerback? Do they go edge rusher? There's 4 or 5 positions the Jets could use at that number 23 overall pick. Many don't know. And then obviously the Jets also have the 34th overall pick. Obviously, the second or third pick of the first round, or 34th, 35th overall pick. I think they have the 34th overall pick, second pick of the second round. So they realistically, honestly have like 3 first round picks, because you have the second overall, the 23rd overall, then you have the second round pick. Now the New York Giants, however, the New York Jets, I believe, have 9, 10 picks. The New York Giants, however, only have, I believe it's 6 picks. The Giants don't have many picks this draft. As a matter of fact, from when I did my mock draft, let me just read you the picks. The New York Giants, they don't have as many picks as the New York Jets. Let me just get to some of them. If I can get there, I don't know if I still have it, but I could read you some of the picks that the New York Giants have. Because the New York Giants, they don't have many picks. And this is coming from a Jet fan. This is coming from a fan whose team has all these picks and has a lot of these picks. But obviously, involving the New York Giants, I couldn't find it. But the New York Giants only have 6 picks. And there was something that someone I know sent over to me. We were talking. 6 picks for the New York Giants. And the least amount of picks, the Seahawks have 3, I think. So the New York Giants are up there in least amount of picks in the draft, compared to some teams like the Jets who have 10 or 11 picks. 5 picks, that's a big gap. That might not seem like a big gap, but that's a huge gap. You're talking about 5 players. You're talking about 5 picks. You're talking about 5 opportunities to get some young talent on a team, right? So the New York Giants only have 6 picks. So I feel like the New York Giants, are, in a way, not saying that they don't know what they're doing. They're 50-50 on this move. I feel like Dave Gettleman and the Giants front office is split on this move, and I'll give you my opinion on this in a second. I think they're split on this move. I think 50% of themselves say, you know what? We're sticking to 11. We're taking the guy who's available. If it's an edge, we're taking an edge. If it's a wide receiver, we're taking a wide receiver. If it's an offensive lineman that we believe can help it's an offensive lineman, because the Giants' offensive line has been brutal for the past 2-3 years. I think also 50% of them say, hey, we only have 6 picks in this draft. We got to trade back. Maybe we get 2 picks. Maybe we get a second and a first, and a late round first, trade back, and then boom, just like that, now you have 8 picks in the draft, or 7 picks, 8 picks now, and you still have that remaining first round pick. I think it's kind of split here. I think part of them might say, hey, just take the guy that's available. If it's an offensive lineman, go ahead and take it. We could still use the offensive line. If it's wide receiver, go ahead. Edge rusher, we could definitely use an edge rusher. There's been a lot of guys that have been storming up draft boards. OA from Penn State, edge rusher. The guy's been storming up draft boards. Guy was supposed to be a mid to late second rounder, is now all of a sudden some believe might squeak into the first round. A lot of people just believe with his height, his strength, he's just quick to the ball. He gets to the quarterback quickly. A lot of people just like what he does. A guy like Micah Parsons, too, out of Penn State. Another guy, one of the best linebackers, one of the more athletic players in his draft. Could the Giants look to get him, right? There's so many different options the Giants have here. So 50% of them might say, hey, go out there and get this guy. And we'll develop him. We'll get him in game shape. We'll get him ready. And maybe 50% of them say, hey, I don't want to settle at number 11. I don't want to settle on a guy that we're not completely sold on. And then go ahead and say, hey, you know what? It was best to trade out of this position, trade down, maybe get a pick or two in return. And that could be a late first. That could be 2 early second-round picks, whatever that is. It could be a second for this year and a first for next year, whatever it is. Say, I'm not sold on the guy that's available. I'm not sold on the players that are available. It would be really it would be a reach to go out and get this guy this early. Maybe the Giants go ahead and say that. If you were to ask me, if I was Dave Gettleman right now, I would personally see how the draft plays out. And I know it might sound like an obvious answer, but I wouldn't trade out of this pick before the draft. I wouldn't go ahead make this trade now. Because you got to see how the first 10 picks play out. And the Jets were in this situation last season. The Jets had the 11th overall pick in the draft. There were some people that thought the Jets might move up to take a player. There was also some people that thought they would trade back to take a player. Because you got to realize, the Jets finished 7-9 last year. Not this most recent year, the year before that. We were a lot worse than a 7-9 football team. Down the stretch, we played some easy opponents. We got the wins. We finished 6-2 down the stretch, right? Realistically, though, the Jets should have really got a top 5 pick if you're looking at the roster and our needs. So there's some rumors around that. But the Jets, I think a lot of what depended on what the Jets were going to do is, I think it really depended on why they held off is what happened on draft night. They didn't know. You got to see how the first 10 picks play out. Sure, we all know Trevor Lawrence is going number 1 overall. And even if he fell to the New York Giants, the Giants are completely sold on Daniel Jones. Okay? We all know Trevor Lawrence is going to the Jaguars. Zach Wilson, I can almost guarantee you he's going to the New York Jets. Okay? 49ers and Falcons, that's debatable, but I don't really think that's going to affect the Giants much because, to be honest, both those teams are looking at quarterbacks, and the Giants aren't. You get to the Dolphins, that's debatable. Bengals are debatable. I think the Dolphins might go ahead and take Jamar Chase. The Bengals might go ahead and take Jamar Chase. I think the Bengals are pretty sold, though, on Penei Sewell. That's still quite questionable, though. You got the Lions, the Eagles. Are the Eagles going to go secondary route or offensive line route? Because their offensive line was brutal last year. Right, there's a lot of questions within the top 10. I would say more 8 picks because, realistically, the Jets and the Jaguars, I think, are pretty obvious who they're taking. Especially the Jaguars. We all know the Jaguars are taking Trevor Lawrence. They've literally boom, their pick is already in. We already know. You can literally mark off Trevor Lawrence to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's going to go to the Jaguars. Number 2 overall pick, more than likely it's going to be Zach Wilson. It's the next 7-8 picks, then is where you start to question where they're going to go. And that's another thing, too, with the New York Giants, is what I would want to see, too. If the Giants realize, hey, because teams talk all throughout the drafts. You hear it. You see it. Teams always say, sometimes teams have conversations during the draft, right? For example, if I'm team 1 and team 2's 3 picks behind me and team 2 might call me and they say, hey, call team 1 and say, hey, we'll give you this, this, and this for this and this. And you might go ahead and say, hey, 3 picks before 3. That's what makes the draft so entertaining. It could be way before your pick even comes up, and there could be a team already knocking on the door. So that's what I feel like with the New York Giants. I think they got to play it out patiently. I think the Giants got to be patient with this. You don't just want to go ahead and trade this pick away, because, hey, if you trade this pick away, then, oh no, if you just trade this pick away, there's an issue. Because then, what if the number 11 overall pick, there's a player that falls there, Devontae Smith, Micah Parsons, someone like that, and you go ahead and miss on him. Now, maybe the Giants have a very strong feeling. A guy like Devontae Smith or someone like that, who many mock drafts have the Giants taking, a guy like that, maybe they believe that a team in front of them is firmly settled on him. there's an opportunity there. Giants might have called up a team. They may feel firmly set on where they are. That gives the sense to the New York Giants that, hey, you know what? Maybe we should just go ahead and just trade out of this. But I would say for the New York Giants, they got to be patient with this. You don't just want to trade out of it just to make a trade. You got to be patient. If you're 7-8 picks into the draft and all the players that you were looking at are available, go ahead and stay. But hey, if it isn't, you could go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to trade back. We've seen many moves where a team's on the clock and they trade out of that pick. We've seen it so many times. We saw it not last year, but the year before that. I forget what two teams, and it might have been the Bills, I think might have been involved. The Bills traded out, or I don't know if it was the Bills, but it was like two trades. Team traded out, came back in, that team swooped up that player. We saw it in the NBA draft with the Nets. When they were on the clock, they traded out of that spot, and then they traded out of that spot. And then the other team came in and swooped up that player. Forget what team that was, too. That, different story, different day, though. So we've seen it many times. So, as a Giants fan here, I'm not a Giants fan, but if you're a Giants fan, I wouldn't count on this as happening before draft day. I think if this move's going to happen, it's going to happen realistically, it's going to happen on draft day. Because I think the Giants, you got to see how the first 10 picks play out. Then you can make your decision. And that's a lot of picks. It's a lot of guys. And we've seen a lot of shocking moves over the years. I mean, who in the world had the Packers trading up in the first place and then trading up to take Jordan Love? If you had that, good for you. But there's been a lot of shocking moves in the NFL draft. So the first 10 picks to go through, that's a lot of picks. The Giants are in a very interesting situation. Realistically, the Giants are like in the middle. Right? 15th pick is about in the middle of the draft. So the Giants are 4 picks away from that. The Giants are about in like almost the middle. 2 picks after them, they're kind of in the center of the draft. It's kind of like half of the draft is the first 15 picks and half of the draft is there. The Giants are almost at the halfway point, which is so hard to pick because you got to see how half the NFL teams pick. But hey, I think this is the Giants, and I'm going to read this article here. If Devontae Smith falls to the Giants, you take him. You don't trade that out. Let's just say Devontae Smith's off the board at number 5. That might be where Dave Gettleman picks up the phone and goes ahead and calls a team and says, hey, our guy got taken. We'll give you this for this and this pick, maybe a second this year and a late first next year, or something like that. Or your first pick, or whatever the case may be. But maybe they trade down. Maybe it's a small move. Maybe they trade down to like number 13 or something. They get like a second for it. And boom, you get an extra pick. Something like that. Although I do think if the Giants are going to make this move, I think they're going to get more than one pick for it. I don't think they're going to trade back, lose a pick, and then just gain one pick. I think you're going to want to trade back and maybe get a second and maybe like a fourth. Something like that. But anyway, let's take a look at this. So Giants rumors, New York considering trading down for number 11th overall pick in 2021 NFL Draft. The New York Giants are reportedly open to trading down from the number 11 pick in next week's NFL Draft. Ian Rappaport of NFL Network reported that the pick is expected to have real value around the league. The Giants will likely have to wait until next Thursday's first round gets underway before seeing what type of value they can extract from the selection. With quarterback being a heavy focus of the top 10, it's possible, if not likely, that five quarterbacks will be selected within the first 10 selections. Teams targeting other positions should be able to find value later than typical years. It's a very quarterback-heavy draft. Mentioned that a couple times here. The Giants, who need help on the offensive line, wide receiver, and on the defensive edges, may find a can't-miss prospect at a need position is available at number 11. Northwestern tackle Rashawn Slater and Alabama wide receiver Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle could all be available when the Giants are on the clock. If general manager Dave Gettleman feels edge rusher is the team's top priority, then it may be prudent to trade back. This is considered a weaker class for edges, with Miami defensive end Jalen Phillips likely available in the late teens or early 20s. The Giants could also target a receiver like LSU's Terrace Marshall Jr. or Minnesota's Rashad Bateman later in round 1, if they feel the drop-off from Smith or Waddle is not severe. Gettleman will come into the 2020 season on the hot seat. So his decision in the first round could make or break his job. And that's the truth. Gettleman, and Giants fans might beat me up on this, Gettleman's made draft mistakes. I don't think he's drafted very well. And I'll give you a few examples. Now, let me be honest here. I will admit that some of the players I'm going to name are still developing. You can't call them busts yet. Or you can't call them not successful yet. But DeAndre Baker, that was not a good pick. Not a good pick whatsoever. Saquon Barkley, that was a good pick. I'm just going through the picks. I'm not going through only bad ones. I'm just going through the picks that I can remember. Saquon Barkley, that was a good pick. Outside of his injuries, that was a good pick. Now, hindsight 2020, if you knew he was going to be this injury prone, do you take him at number 2? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say Barkley was a bad pick. Barkley was a good pick. Because when he's out there and he's healthy, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. Now, Daniel Jones, I don't think was a good pick. He's had 2 very bad years, 2 not so good years. And then this year, we'll see how it plays out. This very well could be it for him. Andrew Thomas struggled a lot last season. He actually got benched because of some discipline issues. So that pick so far hasn't worked out for him so far. So Gettleman's made some questionable draft decisions over the years. They also passed up on Josh Allen, not the quarterback, the edge rusher, and they took Daniel Jones instead. And Josh Allen's been having a really good career so far. So, and I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, Dexter Lawrence, I think, was the guy who they took with their, I believe, this actually, I don't know, I might be wrong on this one. 2019, round 1, pick 2, okay. Okay, yeah, so Dexter Lawrence, he's still there. All right. Yeah, so Dexter Lawrence, he was the other pick in that draft. That was a good pick so far. He's been pretty good. That one, I just had to make sure I was right on that one. So Dexter Lawrence, that was a solid pick. Although still probably would have took Josh Allen and then Daniel Jones at that 17th overall. That wasn't great. But Dexter Lawrence has been good. DeAndre Baker was awful. He's not even on an NFL team, I don't believe. You got Saquon Barkley was a good pick. When healthy, he's one of the best running backs in the league. You got Dexter Lawrence, solid pick so far. So you've had some good picks. Andrew Thomas, I don't want to call him a bust yet. I don't want to say it's been a bad pick. But so far, it hasn't worked out. So far. He could have a breakout year this year, allow 1 sack in the entire year. That's for all I know. But right now, it didn't work out last season. So maybe a year of learning, a year of, getting back into the groove. And his second year, sometimes players mentally and physically make a big leap. Because sometimes when they get into the league, they're still a little, not immature, but they're still a little college mode in a way. And that's why he had the discipline issues. There's a big jump. They always say that in all sports. In baseball, the biggest jump's from AAA to MLB. Football, it's obviously from college to NFL because there's no in between, unless it's practice squad. But college to NFL. The NBA, same thing. College to NFL. Or NBA, rather. Hockey, it's farm system, minor leagues, AHL, that stuff, to the NHL. Or wherever you were playing at. Junior team, some national team, whatever the case may be. Wherever you were playing. Some club team somewhere. That's the biggest jump. So, you got to see how it plays out. Sometimes that's why you see second-year breakouts. You see players really become themselves in their second year. It's a year in the NFL. It's a year of off-season trading, preparing for another NFL season. Because you got to still prepare for college, but a lot more stuff you got to do in the NFL preparing-wise. Because it's faster paced. It's a lot more hard hitting. You got to really take care of your body even more in the NFL than you do in college. So sometimes give a player a full off season to be in the NFL, to be, working out with some, head trainers and stuff. If you give a player a full off season like that, that could really be solid. Now, that's why you see these second-year breakouts. You see these guys make this second-year leap. They might have a good first year, but you see a leap. We saw it Kyler Murray. He had a good first year, won Rookie of the Year, but last season he even made more of a leap. There was a point there where many thought he could be in the MVP conversation. But yeah, if I was the Giants, this is not a move that's going to happen before the draft. I can almost guarantee you on that. If this move is going to happen at all. there's a possibility this move doesn't even happen. This is just something that the Giants are interested. They're considering it. It doesn't mean they're going to do it, but it means that if the right chance is there, they might go ahead and take that chance and go ahead and do whatever they feel. Now, like I said, as much as sometimes I beat up on the Giants and stuff, they're going to do whatever is best for the team. That's what all these organizations do. So that if they feel trading back is best for the team, they're going to go ahead and trade back. If they feel staying at number 11 and drafting whoever is available and whoever they feel is best fit for the team, they will go and draft that player. As much as we've seen teams make questionable decisions, I've always said organizations, GMs, obviously the pick that they made, they felt is best for the organization and they felt is best for the team and best for the fan base. That's also, too, fan base. You want to make the fan base happy. So, that's how I look at it. But some people could also look at it as, hey, we might make a stupid move to trade back for no reason. But I think of the Giants, I think you're going to have a good idea. And I'm going to tell you this. I think you're going to have a really good idea if the Giants trade back, depending on how the first 7, 8 picks unfold. Not the first 10, because then it's their pick. The first 5, 6, 7, 8 picks might be pushing a little bit, but 5, 6 picks unfold. If you find yourself 7th, 8th pick in the draft, Devontae Smith still on the board, and there's, it just doesn't seem like any team's real interested in him, the Giants might stay firm right there. If you find the 7th overall pick, Devontae Smith taken, the Giants right then and there might dial that phone, call up a team, and say, hey, we're trading back. Or whoever player that might be. Edge rushers this year, it's not that great of a year. They're good players, but it's not like Chase Young last season. He was the second player off the board. You still have some good players, but the edge rushers isn't like last season's. Cornerbacks is really heavy this year. You got Caleb Farley, J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain. You got a lot of good corners, a lot of good defensive backs in this draft. Edge rushers in great. Offensive line's kind of like the underrated one. Like every year there's going to be a couple good offensive linemen here and there. Last season's offensive line was a very offensive line heavy draft. Jedrick Wills, obviously. You had Thomas, Becton. And then also last season was wide receiver heavy draft as well. Ruggs, Judy, Justin Jefferson. Jamar Chase is this year. CeeDee Lamb. You did a heavy wide receiver draft last season. This year you got it too, but you got your main ones. You got Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, and like Jalen Waddle. And Waddle's draft stock has dropped slightly too because of his ankle injury he had. So I think it really all depends on how the draft is playing out, what it's looking like, and really who the Giants believe is going to be available when they get to their pick. And we'll find that all out on draft day. I love the draft, NFL draft, so much fun. Sometimes you laugh at those questionable moves, but you genuinely, when you see a team that you're almost certain that they're going to draft that player, and they don't draft him, there's almost a kind of that feel in the air of, wow, where's this guy going to go? We saw that last year with Isaiah Simmons. Many people thought the Giants were going to take him. Giants took Andrew Thomas, which was a very surprising move. No one even really had Andrew Thomas going to the Giants. Isaiah Simmons ends up dropping down to 8 or 9 to the Cardinals. And we were like, how far is he going to drop? How much longer is this going to be? I was like, if he's available at the Jets, you might want to put some thought into this one. But to be honest here, when you see those, moves that surprise people, it does really shake up the draft. And that's what makes the draft entertaining, too. And I'm going to get into the Yankees here in a second. I'm kind of just blabbing on at this point. But that's what makes the draft so exciting, is when you get those moves like that, where you didn't expect it, where you didn't see it coming. You get those moves. And then you see what happens. The player might fall all the way down the draft boards or go all the way to another team. And it makes it exciting. It definitely shakes things up. Because it's almost like if every pick is what everyone expected, it's just not as fun. It's like, oh, he got drafted. Oh, he got picked. Instead of, oh, wow. But anyway, I think that the Giants are really, it's going to depend on how the first couple picks, how the picks in front of them play out will depend on what the Giants do with their 11th overall pick. So we'll see how all that plays out. Draft is next Thursday. Should be exciting. I'm ready for it. But with that being said, coming up next, we're going to get into the Yankees. The Yankees have officially called up Mike Ford. It's no surprise here, but it's official. The New York Yankees have called up Mike Ford, as the New York Yankees obviously are in a very, 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 very bad situation right now. They are 5-10, 15 games into the season, have looked terrible. Second worst record in the MLB, worst record in the American League. And Jay Bruce has retired. So the New York Yankees needed someone else. Luke Voigt's still injured, although he's progressing very well. And, the Yankees have decided to call up Mike Ford. I'll talk about this move. I will talk about this move coming up next. Alrighty, so the Yankees call up Mike Ford to replace retired Jay Bruce, and New York Yankees right now. Obviously, Jay Bruce has been retired, and obviously has officially retired, and he's been retired for 2 days now, as it is Tuesday. I mean, this all started, to be honest, spring training. So this all started, spring training. And you obviously had the big question mark. Well, the Yankees first of all, the Yankees had Jay Bruce as a non-roster invite. It wasn't even something many people thought he was even going to be on a team. It was a non-roster invite. It was a guy the Yankees brought in. They obviously might have saw something. It was kind of just one of those things like, you know what, hey, come in, let's see what you do. Something like that. An opportunity for Jay Bruce to, in a way, revamp his career maybe. And obviously, it didn't work out. He obviously came up to New York Yankees. He had a great spring training, looked really good, was hitting the ball really well. It wasn't home run or nothing with him. And obviously Luke Voigt went down. You brought him up, followed by Talkman. And I mean, man, did it go downhill from there. And like I said, I don't know if it's just age or if it was just the pressure of New York, filling in for Luke Voigt, who has really grown a name for himself on the team and throughout the MLB. A home run leader last season. I don't know if it was just that, if it was just all the pressure, or if it was just the fact that Jay Bruce was just done. And Jay Bruce, realistically, first couple games, he wasn't playing that bad. He had the game-winning hit against, the Blue Jays or something like that. Game-winning hit there. And then he had a home run. He had a walk or two. And I even was saying, when I was doing one of the games, yes, he wasn't always getting on base, but he was getting contact. He wasn't going down without a fight, I would say. And obviously, there's no moral victories in baseball and sports, like I always say, but it was one of those things where, for a guy that was getting up there in age, for a guy that was not the same player as he was a couple years prior, obviously a guy who played 14 years in MLB, he seemed like, he was only an adjustment or two away from hitting like he did in the spring. And I think a lot of us saw that. Like, a lot of us really saw that. Like, he was only a couple tweaks, I feel like, away. Like, his timing was just slightly off. And I feel like if his timing could have been better, those foul tips he had could have been singles, could have been doubles, maybe could have been home runs. But it just never worked out. He worked. He kept on working. They did some stuff with him. And I found the final couple games before he could bench, and it became the final couple games of his career, he was just not going down with a fight. He wasn't even really going up there and battling. He was striking out on 3-4 pitches. I know there was that one at bat he watched, 2 down the middle, and then he swung at the last one, swung and missed. He was going down without any fight. At least in the beginning part of the season, he had, a couple 6-7 pitch at bats, 5-6 pitch at bats where maybe it was a 1-1 count, 2-1 count, he'd foul pitch off, foul another one off, maybe foul another one off, and then he might strike out, but he was at least on it somehow. And there was no moral victories, obviously, in sports, but for a guy that was old, for a guy that many expected wasn't going to be on an MLB roster, it seemed like he was just a couple adjustments away. That wasn't the case, so he ended up retiring, and the New York Yankees now call up Mike Ford. Now, I've always liked Mike Ford. I know a lot of Yankees fans last season got a little frustrated when he was playing a lot and he wasn't hitting well, and he didn't have a great hitting year last year, and I will admit to that. He didn't have a great hitting year last year. Now, Part of the reason was because he was bouncing up and down from alternate site taxi squad to playing to one at a game to this, and this. He wasn't able to get many live reps. He was kind of up there. He would hit batting practice. He would come in to pinch hit, and he would get out, but he was getting 1 or 2 at-bats a week, it seemed. So I feel like it was a small sample size for Mike Ford last season. And to be optimistic about Mike Ford, and this might just be because I do like Mike Ford, and I do believe he's got a lot of talent. I do believe he could be a solid player for another team, not saying starter, but an advanced role, maybe a DH, maybe, a guy that, a 50-50 playing time at first, kind of half and half. You play 2 games, I'll play 2 games. One of those situations. Now, is he there to be an everyday first baseman yet? No, he's not. He's still got stuff to learn. That's what a lot of these players, like, for example, some of these young guys, like Clint Frazier, he's still developing. He's still got a little bit until he's an true everyday left fielder. He's still very good, but to be a guy that can hit, frequently, and to be a guy that can go out there and make impacts on the field, for 130, 40 games a season, he's still got to learn a little bit. Now, with Mike Ford, I think we saw him the first year he came up. He was hitting very well. He was hitting home runs. He was getting on base. He was doing really well. It was like, wow. Like, the Yankees had Voit. It was like, wow, we might have found something in this guy. And the Yankees kept on playing him and playing him. It was like good. It was going good. And obviously then the season ended and blah, 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 blah. And he started up next year, and it didn't go so well for him. So you got to hope as a Yankees fan and as a fan of Mike Ford, you got to hope that last season it was just the fact that it was 60 games. It was the fact that he didn't get many reps. There was no minor league season, so he couldn't go down to AAA, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Rail Riders, get a couple of bats there, face some live pitching, come back up and play the Yankees. No, it was batting practice, taxi squad, or you're playing in the game. That's what it was. And I feel like for a lot of guys, especially Miguel Andujar, Mike Ford, we've seen it with many different guys, they struggled when they got up there. They weren't able to hit. When they got up there, it would be their first time facing really live pitching. It would be their first time seeing a 95-mile-an-hour fastball in a week or two. You don't realize how hard it is to just step up there and hit a 95, 96-mile-an-hour fastball. You don't realize, whether it's down the middle or not. You don't realize how hard it is. And that's why I got to hope that his struggles last season, his issues at the plate, hopefully were just the fact that he didn't get many at-bats. He didn't get many opportunities. It was a shortened 60-game season. For a guy that still's kind of in between of bouncing up and down from AAA to MLB, he just didn't have a great year. You just got to hope that's the case. But hey, maybe it isn't. Maybe he's just not a great hitter after all. But when he came up with the New York Yankees, he was doing really well, and it wasn't even like there would be that much film on him because he didn't even play that much. I mean, he didn't play 150 games. He's a backup, so a guy would come in. But I'll tell you what, I think this is an automatic upgrade because you had Jay Bruce, who was striking out in 3. It got frustrating watching Jay Bruce. It really did. A guy who was striking out every at bat. On 3 pitches, he wasn't even battling. 3-4 pitches, and he was out. So, hopefully Ford can do his job. And obviously, the Yankees aren't asking Ford to go out there and crank 40 home runs this season, drive in 100 RBIs. But they are asking him to hit. They're asking him to obviously be a good first baseman because we did see some plays with Jay Bruce this season where there was some bad throws by Gleyber Torres and he wasn't able to and he wasn't able to scoop those. Maybe Mike Ford does that, and there's a possibility there where, you save a couple runs. That's how I see this. But it's not a surprising move. It's a move the New York Yankees we all expected to be made. You just had to wait for that 10-day period to end, and it has, and the Yankees have called up Jay Bruce. So let's read this quick article here. The Yankees call up Mike Ford to replace retired Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce is out and Mike Ford is in. Bruce abruptly announced his retirement prior to Sunday's game against the Rays, but remained on the roster for the game on Tuesday as the Yankees attempt to turn around what has been a dreadful start to the season. They recalled Ford from the alternate site in Scranton. It's not exactly a shakeup, and a shakeup wasn't expected after General Manager Brian Cashman stood by his roster on Monday. Cashman also backed up manager Aaron Boone following the 5-10 start, which includes a 5-game losing streak the Yankees will try to snap Tuesday night against the Braves in the Bronx. Ford, 28 years old, provides a left-handed bat and a suitable play at first base. The Yankees went with Bruce out of spring training hoping to get some power as he also learned the nuances of playing first base. Bruce's defense turned out to be less problematic than his lack of production at the plate, and he likely would have been even if he hadn't retired. Ford was a solid addition in 2019 when he hit a dozen homers and had an OPS of 909 and 163 plate appearances after being called up from AAA. But the former Princeton standout had an awful season a year ago, going 10 for 74, 135 with 6 extra base hits and 84 plate appearances. He trimmed down in the offense in the offseason, but didn't impress in spring training. With a double and a homer in 27 Grapefruit League at bats. Luke Voit is on the mend from surgery to repair a torn left meniscus and is expected to be back sometime next month. So the Yankees still need to get a few weeks from a replacement when they don't want to use DJ LeMahieu at first. So when Mike Ford got called up, he batted really well. He, 163 plate appearances, which is possibly a possible thing where, hey, you go ahead and give him the plate appearances, give him the opportunity to go out and, have an extended playing time. He could be an option where maybe he thrives in that role and has a better role. And a guy who, obviously last year, didn't have the best year yet ever. I mean, he batted 135, which I mentioned earlier. He went 10 for 74 and 8. He didn't hit that well. But a guy who's still only 8 years old, you just got to hope that, that he gets better this season. You got to hope that he progresses. But, I mean, we've seen what he can do. I mean, we've seen what he can do with his power. Obviously, in 2019 when he came up, he did well. He batted 259. His strikeouts wasn't too high, but he did have 25 OPRs. He had 12 home runs. I mean, a guy who played 50 games, he did his job in 50 games. 143 at-bats. He gave him the opportunity. He did his job. And obviously last season only played 29 games. So a small sample size for him last year. He batted 135, 2 home runs, 11 RBIs, and 496 OPS. But hey, still, I think it's better than Ford and than Bruce. And you got to also realize with Bruce, he was struggling at the plate, but he wasn't a great defender either. And Ford can bring that defense as well. And I think the Yankees are going to want to go maybe more with LeMahieu at second base. And then you put Ford in there as well. And but I will tell you this. Voit has been very good recovery-wise. He's been making really good strides with his recovery. And that's great news as a Yankee fan to know that. But he has been. He's been actually ahead of schedule. So that's really good. And hopefully he continues to progress well and he's back out on the field very soon. But for the meantime, Yankees call up Mike Ford, and he's gonna get his at bats. He's gonna get opportunity to try to be solidified guy in this roster for the future here. Obviously, not gonna get the starting job over Voit, but an opportunity for him to show that he can still play well in the MLB. So, with all that being said, let's get into the NBA and the New York sports update and NHL and MLB and all that good stuff. Comment down below your thoughts on the Yankees Mike Ford move. But yeah, anyway, as for yesterday, the Jazz won, Nuggets won, Suns won, Spurs won, Wizards won, Warriors won, Heat won, Bulls won, and Pistons won. As for today, we only got 5 games on today. Knicks, Hornets, I'll give Knicks to win. Hawks, Magic, give Hawks to win. Trailblazers, Clippers, give Clippers to win. And Kings, Timberwolves, give Kings to win. Nets also play today. Nets come in this game 38-19. Pelicans come in this game 25-32. Pelicans are 3-point favorites for this game. Come in 3-point favorites. The over/under is 234.5 for this game. 234.5 in this game. This game comes on today, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on TNT. Harden's progressing well with his hamstring. Durant's out though. Kyrie should be playing. I think it all depends. I'll give him the win if Kyrie plays well. It's really all depends on he plays. And if Landry Shamet can somehow continue to play like he's been playing, then that would be really good. But the Nets got to continue to get some wins here if we want to finish first place in the Eastern Conference. As for the NHL, yesterday the Golden Knights won, Senators won, Wild won, Oilers won, Predators won, Stars won, Lightning won, and Panthers won. As for today, we got the Bruins Sabres. I'll give Bruins the win. Panthers, Blue Jackets, give Panthers the win. Penguins, Devils, gives Penguins the win. Lightning, Hurricanes, give Lightning the win. Stars, Red Wings, give Stars the win. Maple Leafs, Canucks, give Maple Leafs the win. And Kings, Ducks, give Kings the win. Rangers also play today. Rangers come in this game 23-16-6. Islanders come in this game 20-18-13-4. The over-under for this game is 5.5. This game comes on today, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on MSG Plus, and you can find this game on MSG2 as well, but also on MSG Plus. 51% of people said the Rangers are going to win. I was going to give the Rangers the win either way. We've been playing very well. Igor Shesterkin's been playing really well in net. You know, we got to continue it. Yes, the Islanders are a very hard team, but I'm going to keep it rolling. We're on a 4 or 5 game win streak here. Why all of a sudden just give them a loss here? Going to continue to give them a win. As for yesterday in the MLB, the Mariners won, Brewers won, Rangers won, Rays won, Giants won, Cardinals won, and Red Sox won. Mariners have been rolling really right now. They're playing really well. As for today, we got the Dodgers, Mariners. I'll give Dodgers the win. White Sox, Indians, give White Sox the win. Twins, A's, give A's the win. Reds, Diamondbacks, give Reds the win. Marlins, Orioles, give Marlins the win. Tigers, Pirates, give Tigers the win. Nationals, Cardinals, give Nationals the win. Phillies, Giants, give Phillies the win. Blue Jays, Red Sox, give Blue Jays the win. Mets, Cubs, I'll give you that game. Royals, Rays, Hill, Keller. I'll give Royals the win. Keller's on the mound. He's pretty good. And then you got like guys, Whit Merrifield and guys like that. The Royals are actually, roster-wise, are actually a pretty solid team. I'll give Royals the win. Astros, Rockies, give Astros the win. Or Cheaters, Rockies, I'll give Cheaters the win. Angels, Rangers, give Angels the win. Twins, A's, again, I'll give A's the win. And then you got Padres, Brewers, I'll give Padres the win. Mets play today. Mets come in this game 7-4 against the Cubs, who are 6-9. The Mets got Taijuan Walker on the mound versus Jake Arrieta. 7:40 p.m. Eastern Time. This game's on ESPN. So nationally televised game. I'm going to give the Mets the win. Cubs just have been struggling. And with Taijuan Walker on the mound, they've been playing well. As for today, the Yankees play against the Braves. The Yankees come in this game 5-10. Braves come in this game 7-9. Let's see, what's the spread like here? The Yankees are 1.5 point favorites. But the Braves got Charlie Morton on the mound. Yankees got Jameson Taillon on the mound. The over-under is 8.5 for this game. This game comes on today, 6:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Yes Network. I'm not going to give the Yankees the win. I hope they win, but, prove to me that they can hit with runners in scoring position and someone else outside of Monty and Cole can pitch more than 6-7 innings, then I'll give you a win. We got to get back on track, though. We need to get back on track. As for fantasy baseball, today I'm currently winning 29-9. Today I've got going Yerman Mercedes, Jake Cronenworth, Jed Lowry, Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, Marcus Semien, Matt Olson, Whit Merrifield, Austin Meadows, Dylan Carlson, Manuel Margot, Michael Taylor, and Yadier Molina. And I've also got Chris Paddock on the mound. Some injury report here. Alex Bregman, who's been out. Bregman undisclosed, is traveling with his teammates to Denver on Monday and appears set to play in Tuesday's series opener against the Rockies. Mark Berman of KRIV Fox 26 reports. So that would be big for my team if I can get him back there. As for fantasy basketball, I'm currently losing 378-58. It's not going well. Today I've got going Kyrie Irving, Bradley Beal, and Trae Young. I made some moves yesterday. Let's see. Let's get to the moves. I added Buddy Hield, dropped Oladipo, and I added Montrezl Harrell and dropped Miles Turner. Montrezl Harrell has been playing good. And then Buddy Hield as well. And I'm also winning currently in fantasy hockey. I'm currently winning 156-142. So I'm going pretty good there. Today I've got going Mika Zibanejad, Artemi Panarin, Braden Point, Anze Kopitar, Brock Beausire, Joe Pavelski, David Perron, and Joe Pavelski and Ryan Strome. And then I've got Semyon Varlamov and Igor Shesterkin in goal. So that's what I got there. Hopefully works out. Fantasy hockey. If I win this, headed to the championship, which would be great. Obviously, my team was playing like it for a little bit there, and they kind of slowed down, but now they're starting to heat back up again, so that's good. goalie have been really good. My goalie's been really good. I made some changes with the goalies. I picked up Igor Shesterkin, and I still have Varlamov and Cam Talbot, but the goalies are good. Goalies are big because goalies could get you like 12 points, 15 points around there. So goalies are big. But anyway, with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. It was another really good podcast. Obviously, a lot of draft news, and then the Yankees trying to find ways to win. We'll see if the Yankees can get a win today. We'll see if the Yankees can end this ugly 5-game losing streak, and we'll see if they can pick up a win. It ain't going to be easy, as the Braves are a very good team, but the Yankees got talent. We're just not doing anything right now. So hopefully we figure out a way to fix this and get this ship headed in the right direction before it sinks too much, as we're starting to sink a little bit. The ship's not officially sinking, but let you know, right now we're headed in the wrong direction. Let's try to steer that ship back on plane and start heading in the right direction. That's what the Yankees got to start doing. But with all that being said, that'll do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.